You're listening to The Review on the OSG Podcasting Network.
Welcome back, everybody, to The Review. It's the OSG Sports College Football Podcast. And for those of you wondering what OSG is, that means we are the online sports guys. With me today, as always, OSG Nelson and Jay Wilkerson, 16. And guys, we're talking about some money, and how it makes the world go around in college football, particularly this week when word came out that new Michigan State head coach Mel Tucker, after spurning overtures from the Michigan State Spartans, decided at the last second, after the Spartans did not get their man, that he would be second choice, and under the dark of night slid out of Boulder, Colorado, only to show up in East Lansing, Michigan the day later. Guys, is this a game changer for coaching in college football, how this all went down, or is it going to be more the standard here as we go on?
Define game changer.
Yeah.
I mean, late action, guys saying that I'm not coming, and then, oh, wait, maybe I am coming. And because Tucker essentially recruited a class, the circumstances here are a little bit different in the fact that this happened after signing day. Tucker got a nice class for Colorado, but now all of a sudden he's gone. Parents are angry. Alumni are angry. The athletic department's angry. Players are angry. Should they be angry? Should they not be angry?
Well, I think, yeah, if you're Colorado, yeah, you're a bit pissed off because you've gone through two recruiting cycles now, early signing period and I guess the normal signing period. I don't know how we describe that one now, besides signing day. Yeah, whatever. But to me, it just shows the status of the conferences. The Big Ten is wash in cash right now. The Pac-12 is struggling financially and on the field. And Michigan State, yeah, you can win there. You're in Colorado, really since Bill McCartney left, when was the last time Colorado's been relevant in football?
Bill McCartney.
They've had a couple of nice years with Neuheisel and with Gary Barnett, but it was nothing like what they had when McCartney was going to South Central LA and bringing all those guys to Boulder. You don't have that anymore. And then you weigh against Michigan State being probably the second toughest division in college football, in there with Michigan and Ohio State and in the Big Ten East. So, but the talent draw is a lot better for you at Michigan State than it is at Colorado. I mean, you got Detroit, you got Flint, you got all these really good Midwestern football high school football programs to draw from. So the change of heart. Look, Mel Tucker, when he took the job at Colorado, remember how he came in basically criticizing the way the Pac-12 does business and kind of said that they need to adopt the SEC model. And he kind of got killed over that in the media. Maybe he saw. I'm sure the cash helped. The 5.5 million per year helped a little bit, but he's going to a conference that has some caring for football and does business very well. So change of heart, I don't know.
Couple of things for me here, and I'll just put all this stuff out to the floor. First and foremost, if he's criticizing the conference and says that they should be more like the Southeastern Conference, how they operate in the day-to-day operation, then you basically do a hit and run, you criticize, and then you're out after a year. Then I think you're part of the problem, and you're not helping matters any. Because this reminds me of the old locker room stereotype where you've got everybody who's out of the shower, they're dressed in the towels, and you got the one dude who wants to pop you in the ass with the towel and then run out of the room. And that's what Mel Tucker's done here. He has basically popped the conference in the ass with a towel, run out of the room, and didn't want to suffer any kind of repercussion for what he said. Second all, I think that every kid that signed with Colorado in both National Signing Day A and B should have the right to jet if they want to. And, because Mel Tucker said, hey, I'm going to be here and you guys, we're going to be a part of something. We're going to do great. We're going to be fantastic. We're part of the turnaround at Colorado. Then Mel Tucker decides he's out the door. I think that everybody who signed in National Signing Day A and B should have the right, without any kind of penalty or repercussion, they should be able to go wherever the hell they want. I know it's difficult for them to do that because of universities who have pretty much figured out who they wanted through their national signing days. But, I think that Mel Tucker has created a situation at Colorado that it could make them worse, even though I know they're looking at Eric Bieniemy, and Eric Bieniemy's interested and he's listening. And right now they have Darren Chiaverini, who's part of the Colorado framework as the interim coach. But I think that Mel Tucker, in turning himself into the new Todd Graham, has decided that he wants to just sit there and jet and not be a part of the solution. And you're frustrated after a year, then if you want to help build something, help build something. If you don't, then don't sit there, go into a place like Boulder, criticize them, and then leave after a year because you don't even sit there and think that you ought to be able to build and be a part of the solution. So that's the two biggest things for me. And the third, obviously, 2B being the fact that, to me, I'm just going to call him the new Todd Graham for jumping after a year and going to a next gig. I understand why you go to Michigan State. Great. But after pumping sunshine in Boulder and all these kids and saying, yeah, we're going to do great, and then you leave, that does me no good.
Darren Chiaverini is he's part of that Colorado family. They love him there in Boulder. Yep. But Eric Bieniemy has a nice body of work. He was a great running back for Bill McCartney, and he's been one of those NFL assistants. He's been an offensive coordinator in NFL and highly respected. Just thinking out loud here, it might be a good thing for Colorado to bring Bieniemy back into the fold.
I'd love it.
Because, think about the recruits. I mean, this is a guy that knows how to get you into the NFL. And let's call a horse here now. College football, it's all about trying to get in the league. And
you're coming off a Super Bowl championship, and he can flash that ring all day long.
Yes. So play devil's advocate here. It might be a good thing that Mel Tucker decided to take his talents to East Lansing, and you can bring in Bieniemy back to Boulder, and, he can flash that ring, maybe go back to South Central LA where Bill McCartney went and flash that ring and get some of those guys to come to Boulder again. Who knows?
I mean, I get what you're saying, the line of thinking there. The question I would have, it would almost to me seem like it would have to be a destination thing for Bieniemy to be in Colorado and stay there, park there, because his name was bandied about all over the place during the NFL coaching carousel. And quite frankly, I was surprised he didn't end up with an NFL head coaching job because he's more than qualified for it at this time.
But the tokenness of the Rooney Rule is going to cancel that stuff out. I'm sorry.
I don't think so.
And plus, Colorado is his alma mater.
True.
And that tug, what does that mean to Bieniemy when your school that you starred for and won a national championship with wants to bring you back as the head coach and bring back the magic that he had when he played for Bill McCartney? I mean, you got to think that's got to be a mighty huge tug to Eric Bieniemy coming off a Super Bowl championship with the Chiefs. And just think of the things he learned from Andy Reid, who I think is probably the best offensive mind in football, and taking those tools to a head coaching job at a major, at a Power 5 school. You don't think that would help his NFL street cred?
I don't think he really needs to help his street cred in the NFL. He's already got it. Maybe I'm reading it wrong, but to me, it seems like if he made that jump to Colorado, you're talking about a short-term investment on his part as well, because I think when you come around to the carousel next year or the year after that, his name is going to be in that mix, and he's going to be an NFL head coach unless he decides, and I can't speak for him, I don't know him, but on the surface to me, it seems like you either got one or two scenarios here. Either he takes the job at Colorado and stays there for life, which he could do and be perfectly successful at, and renders my point completely moot. But if his end goal is to be an NFL head coach, that opportunity is going to come for him, whether he goes to Colorado or not. Because Kansas City's got Pat Mahomes, they've got an electric offense. Andy Reid and everybody within the Andy Reid coaching tree has been pumping Bieniemy up for years as a head coaching candidate in the NFL. It's only a matter of time before that opportunity comes. And I think it's going to come whether he goes to Colorado or not. I would hate, from my perspective, I would hate to see Colorado manage to convince him to come to Boulder and coach there. And then all of a sudden, say, Dallas ends up being unhappy with the guy they signed as their head coach, or Gruden John Gruden's not getting fired in LA, but Bruce Arians leaves. Bruce Arians retires from football and the Tampa Bay job comes open. What's to stop Tampa Bay from coming in and say, hey, Eric, we'd love to offer you $6 million a year to come in and coach the Buccaneers and be our head coach and run the team? He's probably going to leave.
I look at Bieniemy not getting a sniff in the interviews.
But he did.
And I just the depth that he was not looked at by more than one franchise or whatever, going to the end of the interview process. I think that I'm not as optimistic as you when it comes to Bieniemy and a possible future in the NFL in the short term. So if he thinks that he can go to Colorado, build up a resume, then one of two things can happen.
Yeah, I agree with you, John. I agree with you. And I think there's better job security at Colorado than there ever would be an NFL head coach, because normally these are 5-year contracts, and usually those contracts are honored by ADs and presidents. And there's been.
And there has, and I understand where Wilkie's going here with this. And you look at, I don't have the same kind of confidence in front offices in the NFL that I do when it comes to hiring minority candidates. And I've just, right now, I think if Bieniemy wants to jet Wilkie, I think that going to Colorado will serve him long term.
But I think the question has to be asked: is your end game or your long-term goal going to be an NFL head coach or a college head coach? Because that would have a big impact. If I'm Colorado, that'd have a huge impact on my decision, because you've still got Darren Schifferini, like Wilkie mentioned earlier, sitting there able to take the job. And you're really not changing that much. And the other thing I want to talk about is something that, John, you brought up earlier in the discussion, which is the players being able to leave when a coach leaves. And it's something that's been discussed as a potential option here when it comes to the transfer portal. But then you get reactions and responses like Mike Gundy at Oklahoma says, well, when a college student signs on that dotted line, he signs a contract and he's committed. Well, if a coach,
coach.
Yeah, if a coach isn't committed, why should a player be committed?
Give me a break.
Yeah. But that's the attitude and the prevailing thought process by college football coaches when it comes to this. Well, it's okay for us, but not for you.
Yeah, but whatever. Wilkie, what do you think?
That's a tough one on me, because I can see Mike Gundy's point. I can see the fact that he's got to build his livelihood, his paycheck depends on how these guys perform. And now the tide has turned to where these guys, free agency period in professional sports, you have to reach a certain level of tenure to get that be able to move freely. And you still commit yourself 3 or 4 years when you get your next contract. Now with the transfer portal, coaches don't even know if the guy's physically unable to perform or has a couple bad games and you bench him, whether he's just going to bolt or not. I mean, it's, something's got to give as far as commitments by the player and by the coaches, I guess. I don't know what that answer is, other than, scholarships are renewable each year. It's, Mike Gundy kind of misspoke when he said, you got to be committed to me for 4 years.
Yeah.
Well, those scholarships are renewable each year. And so now it's very unlikely that they don't renew the scholarship, but the option's out there. But I think what Mike Gundy says makes certain sense on a certain level, that there's got to be some kind of commitment and some kind of, I guess, something in place where a guy can't just say, "Oh, I'm going in the portal now."
But what about for
Now,
a kid that just walks in the door who gets all this sunshine pumped at him from a coach, and then the coach leaves?
and the coach leaves? I
Yeah,
think there needs to be some kind of, I think there needs some kind of relief there for the player because you are playing for the coach, not for the school. There's a rare instance now where some people are playing for the school, but
Yeah.
be that as it may, yeah, I think they should be able to be re-recruited, but who knows? That's why college athletics is so crazy right now, especially football. Football is getting so much like college basketball now.
Yeah, and we're in a period where everything's changing. The world around it's completely changing, and it's all dominated by money. All these conversations, if you think about it, everything, it comes back to the same thing: TV money. That's why ultimately that's why Mel Tucker's in East Lansing,
Big Ten Network.
and that's why players are looking for more opportunity to profit off of what the game's being brought in. And you're looking at schools. Because really, if you think about it right now, you've got the Power 2 plus Clemson and then everybody else. The Power 2 being the SEC and the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Everybody else.
And who's in the weakest position? The Pac-12.
Pac-12.
And they're going to get walked over every single time because.
I mean, when Southern Cal can't put together a top 10 recruiting class, and that's your flagship school, something's up.
Yeah, you're talking about schools who are particularly in the Big Two, are bringing in $40-50 million a year just in TV money.
Right?
I mean, the SEC paid out I want to say it's like $44 million this year per school off of their TV money, and that's going to jump through the ceiling here when they get the renegotiated deal. Now that they're bailing out on CBS, the CBS deal, which they were paying, CBS was paying pennies for the SEC package. God, I hope I didn't pop all my P's there when I did that.
Very plosive of you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm here all night. Guys, why don't we take a break here? And when we come back in the second half, we're going to continue this kind of the topic of finances in college football by talking about a school up in the Pacific Northwest who's actually thinking about dropping not only college football, but athletics altogether due to the fact that they can't make money on them. That and more when we come back here on The Review. You are listening to the OSG Sports Podcasting Network.
Just a flesh wound. Look, stop that! Chicken! Look, I'll have your leg.
Enjoy all of our shows from the OSG Sports Podcasting Network. The OSG Sports app is up and running. Download it today.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Apolinsky & Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Apolinsky at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Apolinsky is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as Legal Elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
If you want to scale a mountain, buy boots. If you want to turn your crush into something more, say hi. At Country Financial, we know protecting the things you love and preparing for tomorrow start with simple steps. So we help you take small steps today with insurance and financial services that can have a big impact on your family's future.
For all your home, auto, and life insurance needs, call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871.
Thanks for sticking around. You are in the B block, the second block of The Review here on the OSG Sports Podcasting Network. Again, you are with Jay Wilkerson 16, OSG Nelson, and me, OSG Phil. We are the Online Sports Guys. You can find us on the web at theonlinesportsguys.com, which only makes sense. Our social media pages are also very easy to find. You can find us at OSG Sports, both on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube. Makes it real easy. You don't have to put a whole lot of thought in there. We have a phone app as well. If you download the phone app, it's free, costs $0, and you can get access to all of our podcasts when they hit the ground, hit the podcaster network, whatever it is that sends them out to the phone app. I think that's what they call it these days, isn't it?
Sounds good.
from our host network, Stitcher.
Spreaker.
We are on Stitcher too, by the way.
True. Yes, we're on a boatload.
SoundCloud. A lot of S's.
Yeah, that one.
SoundCloud, Apple,
Spotify.
And all kinds of places.
All those S's.
In the last block, it was P's. This block, it's S's.
Sibilants and plosives.
Letter S.
We're talking econ again, right?
Yeah, guys, we're talking a lot about the economy and the financing of college sports. And in the second block, I want to hit on something that kind of passed through on the wires this week. And that's a report out of Eastern Washington, talking about Eastern Washington University. They're an FCS school, which is the football championship subdivision, for those of you that aren't sure of that. It's the old 1AA, if you will. And they did an internal audit, or a group did an internal audit of the athletic department and found that they're losing a ton of money. We're talking $12 to $15 million a year. That's being funded by the school itself because they don't have the alumni donation, alumni-based TV deal, or anything like that all the schools in the FBS have. And one of the topics that came out of that is the possibility of maybe we should just drop football and athletics, period, and become an academic university. Mm-hmm. Guys, is this something that we should be looking at as a potential future for some of these smaller schools?
Well, raise your hand if you've been to Cheney, Washington.
For those video, listening at home, Wilkie raised his hand.
There's not a whole lot there. It's not too far from Pullman. So as a cautionary tale, it might be, because now we're entering the FCS where you're right. There's no big TV deals. Big Sky Conference kind of has a streaming presence, I guess. I'm not sure if it's tied into ESPN Plus. It might be, where they just get their production costs. So there's no other revenue stream there other than tickets and alumni and donations and booster donations. And there's just not those kind of numbers at Eastern Washington. And they've maintained a pretty good program there at Eastern Washington with transfers, Division I transfers, and they've competed at a championship level, which kind of surprised me when they started doing that. But you're right. I mean, they've got some hard decisions to make because they don't have that revenue stream. And I know they want to redo their stadium with private donations. Well, that's going to be a hard sell. So what are your options? Well, you can go non-scholarship, I guess. You can do that in the FCS level, but it might mean a withdrawal from the Big Sky Conference and go independent. Or the D2, D3 level or NAIA non-scholarship might be the path to go, because it sounds like the university to me cannot maintain that level of bailing out the athletic program. You know, the thing that would help, I guess, and this is kind of out there, would be if the men's basketball team made some kind of deep NCAA tournament run. Sure. That would help. But you know, the Big Sky is a one bid league, and they just don't get the talent, especially in Cheney, Washington, to be able to make those kind of runs. And I don't think, any other sports kind of pays out that way the NCAA men's basketball tournament does. So, I mean, you've got a lot of economic pressures there and not many streams to relieve some of that.
Yeah, by the way, those of you wondering about Eastern Washington football, they're the team that has the red field.
Yes. It hurts your eyes.
Mm-hmm. Much like Central Arkansas. Yes. I think it's a $4 million out of the $17 million that is in their budget is what they bring on themselves through advertising and revenue streams and sponsorships and things like that. The remainder comes from the school. So you're talking 75%-ish of the budget comes from the university itself. And that's like a UConn-ish kind of a number. And Eastern Washington has had far more successes in 1AA and the FCS than UConn has had as a football program in Division One. If you went Pioneer League, you'd have at least one dance partner geographically in the University of San Diego if you wanted to go that route when it comes to FCS football. Going to Division II, Division III NAIA, you would be shaving $10 million, I think was the published number, off of the books toward creating something closer to your bottom line. Eastern Washington has been one of those perennial playoff teams when it comes to 1AA football, but that's the question, is the sustainability long-term of something like this. And you're going to have schools, and I think that this is you could say it's a cautionary tale. You could say it's folks kind of waving frantically in the breeze and, trying to sit there and go, stay calm, all is well, like Kevin Bacon in Animal House or something. But this is going to be an interesting question for Eastern Washington. And then after that, when they come up with their answer, how many other schools are going to be looking at this example, taking notes on the path Eastern Washington will be taking, and then applying that to their own behaviors? Because when you look at FCS football, it's North Dakota State, it's Sam Houston, it's a handful of schools, and then a bunch of others that are just there in Division I AA. Eastern Washington is part of that upper echelon. But it's how can you be sustainable in this environment for the university, not just for the athletic department?
Well, you need to go raid some of your famous alumni. You got Lee the Flea Watkinson, who's competed in the World Series of Poker and has won several $1 million. By the way, he has a BA in economics. So, poker player, economics. So, hey, you can go to him and say, hey, write us a check. Jim McElwain, the head coach at Central Michigan, an Eastern Washington University alum. I think he may have a couple of dollars to donate.
Sure, they might. And then maybe if you renamed them the Sharks, maybe.
Yeah, and then there's Colin Cowherd, who we know makes some really good money at Fox Sports Radio, hosting the Herd. Hey, he could be the face of your alumni. So why not hit him up for a couple $1 million? And then Todd McFarlane. Todd McFarlane, the co-owner of the Edmonton Oilers. I mean, he's got some cash on hand. So there you go. There are some options there. They just got to go.
Wilkie has solved the problems of Eastern Washington University football. Just rename them the Sharks or the Herd and get the donor money that way.
Here's a question for both of you guys.
Sure.
Is this something that we could see?
By the way, Cooper Kupp, a alum of Eastern Washington. Sorry, Phil. Just had to say that.
No worries.
Now back to your thought.
Is this something that could apply potentially to, we're talking like a UTEP or a Ball State or a smaller group of five school that struggles to compete with the big boys and is perennially really one of my bottom of the barrel teams?
I look at UConn.
Yeah. Well, it really depends on the donor base. I mean, is there a donor base that can just you get by with, or is one that will actually write the large checks to keep you competitive? I mean, for those schools, that's what it comes down to. Mm-hmm. It also comes down to coaching salaries and whether, I mean, you've got to really hit a home run at those schools when you're hiring a coaching staff, especially a head coach. Because you're only going to have them for maybe 2-3 years. Yeah. So that's difficult. So
unless you're Randy Edsel and 2 dozen kids at the portal.
UConn's in a world of hurt, aren't they? Football wise. But I think your question is a good one, Phil. Are we going to see this in the next few years at the group of 5 level? And again, it depends on the donor base. I don't see that happening to an American school, although UConn is kind of blows that theory, but there's always an exception to every rule, right? Yes. I mean, they've got a pretty good TV deal with ESPN now, and deservedly so. And I've said there's a case to be made about the American being better than the Pac-12 and the ACC in football. So there's that. The MAC, I think the MAC has got some really good donors there. So I don't see really happening for a MAC school, but Sunbelt, John, I think most of those schools have got pretty solid donor bases, and football is top of mind. in that league. Mountain West, I think, might be one where you'd look at, although there's the Boise States, they're fine. The Wyomings, they seem to have some cash on hand. I think there'd be a few schools on the group of 5 level that the UTEPs, I think, the New Mexico States, the UMasses that have gone independent and can't find a conference home. Those might be the ones I would think of would be in that discussion, and perhaps going back down to 1AA like Idaho did might be the course of action. I just see it more on the FCS level. As far, did Eastern Washington, with their success, bite off a lot more than they could chew?
It looks that way.
I mean, they probably got starry-eyed. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they want to make all these improvements to their stadium and make it more attractive. They put a red field out there just to get publicity. You know that.
Yeah.
And they went after Division I transfers. So that's gotta. I mean, I wonder how much of that is the recruiting budget, because they have to recruit nationally.
Yeah. And that's the $13 million, I guess, question, because what you're seeing really here is, I talked about this in the first block. You're talking about the Power 2, the less powerful 3, and then the group of 5.
Yeah.
That's in big boy college football, the FBS.
Mm-hmm.
The FCS, you're talking about a whole different thing here, where everybody's more on an equal playing field, because we don't have TV money really interjected into it. And that's, I guess, the issue is, and I don't know if there's going to be a resolution, but I think it's coming here in the very near future. There's going to have to be some leveling of the playing field. Otherwise, you're talking about basically 15 to 20 teams in the Big Ten and SEC who are competing for one thing and everybody else competing for something else. Because if not necessarily the best team in the Big Ten, Michigan State, an upper level team, maybe, if they can go in and poach a head coach from a middle to lower level Pac-12 team, that means pretty much every and anything is fair game. And it makes for a totally unbalanced playing field.
Yeah, I think we're going to get the CFA, the resurrection of what we all grew up with the CFA, coming in a handful of years. It's not going to be something around the corner, probably at the time of the new negotiations for the new TV deal for the championship. So I think that once you get to the CFP renewals, I think you might have something akin to a discussion about renewing something like the CFA. But yeah, my two contenders for being the first with major problems are UMass and UConn.
Yeah, I think UTEP's in there too, because they've been pathetically bad for several years in a row now. Last year, I don't think they've won a game.
Go to the bottom of the barrel column and you'll see the answers to that.
I would think New Mexico State would be in that discussion too. It's
agreed.
That's just a tough place to go to, Las Cruces, New Mexico, and they just haven't had any kind of success.
No.
And they're not set up to succeed. They have no real source of income. They're out in the middle of nowhere, and they're not even attached to a conference to have their own TV, to get some TV rights money.
Yeah, it's a men's basketball program that's keeping that athletic program alive.
And that's a tough road to hoe.
Yes.
Guys, you want to wrap things up on this episode here?
Sounds good.
Sure.
On 101.
But I guess before I go, I should ask you, is there anything you guys want to talk about before we say goodbye?
Don't forget to download the OSG Sports app, available iOS and Android. If it's free, it's me. Therefore, it is me. It is also Phil's and Wilkie's. Go to theonlinesportsguys.com for all the news it's fit to vent about. Phil has usually a daily rant that we'll post to the website. And go to the onlinesportsguys.com for that as well. There's the OSG app on the Apple phones. Don't forget, if you're into soccer, you can download the Soccer Down Here app as well for all of the soccer stuff that is fit to print. As you see on the video side, Phil is pimping our gear. You can DM the show, and you can also go to our Teespring store and get a bunch of gear there as well. Don't forget to also follow, friend, like, be a part of the conversation on Facebook at OSG Sports and on Twitter at OSG Sports as well. He's at OSG Phil, I'm at OSG Nelson, and the other one is at J Wilkerson 16. The non-branded host on Twitter is at J Wilkerson 16. There's your promo.
Woo! Covered just about everything. Guys, it's time to say goodbye. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We will be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Till then, have a great week, everybody. So long.
Enjoy all of our shows from the OSG Sports Podcasting Network. The OSG Sports app is up and running. Download it today.